My name is Elton, and this is a mini-series on my channel where I'll be taking a look at artifact sets that have similar effects and uses, specifically for characters who can utilize them well, but have to go through some sort of constant debate of which one to choose. I hope to shed some light on how these sets differ and whether the trade-offs that each of them have are actually worth it, as well as how units can actually proc these effects properly. However, like always, I have to give a disclaimer. I'm not here to calculate percentages or crunch the numbers on any character's damage output. I'm only here to explain how these effects work, how well they can work in the current state of the game, and how well these effects can be taken advantage of. I am not here to shame, humiliate, or insult anyone who chooses one set over another for their builds. Now with all that said and done, welcome to Artifact Antagony. Electro has had quite the journey throughout the game, and a huge part of it was trying to squeeze out as much damage as possible from it. This was due to its long history of being an element who didn't exactly mesh well with other elements, resulting in having a pretty tough time in strengthening its raw power. Despite not having proper fortification through reactions, many players have tried to force out more damage where they could. That was until the massive 3.0 update that paved the way with Dendro, allowing for Electro to finally have the spotlight it deserves. So I'll have to analyze how these sets work for the characters before the 7 elements were introduced and after. Speaking of these two sets, here they are. The Thundering Fury set grants a 15% electro damage bonus with its 2-piece effect, and its 4-piece increases Overloaded, Electrocharged, Superconduct, and Hyperbloom damage by 40%, while Aggravate damage is increased by 20%. Additionally, when either Quicken or any of these electro-related reactions are triggered by the wielder when they are on the field, their elemental skill cooldown is reduced by 1 second. This cooldown reduction can occur once every 0.8 seconds. As for Thundersoother, its 2-piece effect offers a 40% electro resistance, while its 4-piece increases the damage dealt by the wielder when electro affects enemies by 35%. Now, I am aware that the pyro version of these two were discussed in my first episode of the series, so I wasn't really going to talk about this one. In fact, I was actually going to combine these 4 artifact sets into one video, but due to how Electro has pretty much changed drastically since the beginning of the game, I decided on giving these 2 sets their own video to explain them fully. Just like Crimson Witch and Lava Walker, Thundersoother provides more protection from incoming Electro attacks, while also allowing for damage to be increased in a very specific situation. Thundersoother definitely can be kept up very easily due to many units being able to apply Electro easily and very frequently. But this niche way to boost damage and gain more defense is, again, simply easily resolved by higher damage output sets on main DPSs and using shielding, healing, and dodging. I explained this in my previous video, which I'll link down below. I talked about the niche scenarios with how too many things need to be lined up for sets like Lava Walker and Thundersoother to work consistently and well. And as for Thundering Fury, this set is geared to be more offensive, allowing for higher damage in the form of electro-related reactions. However, almost all of these reactions in this set aren't great for many of the playstyles that Electro can use. Overloaded throws enemies back and tosses them around, and it usually means that you have to chase them down, wasting stamina and time. Superconduct is meant for physical damage, so having a set that boosts electro damage and electro reactions just makes absolutely no sense. And as for the electrocharge reaction, it does perform quite well, but mainly in multi-target situations, and usually performs best when there's an Anemo driver at the forefront of the team. And that just leaves Quicken, or more specifically Aggravate, and by proxy, Hyperbloom. This reaction is what makes this artifact set become quite good. Before 3.0, Thundering Fury hadn't included these 2 Electrodendro reactions, simply due to the fact that they had yet to exist. And most of the reactions either weren't very good or had better ways to execute them besides this set, but with Aggravate and Hyperbloom, the set offered usage in terms of how it could actually increase electro damage. This was especially crucial for main DPSs of the element since Overloaded, Superconduct, and Electrocharged produced damage numbers that were not only separate from the initial attack, but also simply just could not crit. The way Aggravate worked was that it took a flat damage bonus and then multiplied it, allowing for the resulting damage number, after things like damage bonuses and crit damage to be factored in, to actually crit. And as for Hyperbloom, it offered a brand new playstyle that allowed for an easily broken team to deal high damage based off of character level and elemental mastery. And as for the final part of Thundering Fury, its 4-piece effect offers cooldown reduction on the equipped character's elemental skill by 1%. This can only occur once every 0.8 seconds and only when the equipped character is on the field. This part of the set is very unique, as it seems to offer higher damage output due to being able to shave seconds off the timer. However, this ended up being some sort of a mixed bag of beans, coming in handy at certain points in time, but being completely pointless in others. Again, when it comes to the characters, I'm not going to be going over more copium builds or less practical ones due to keeping things logical and simple. Going in alphabetical order, Beidou is a very interesting character to consider as she is someone who can use multiple sets depending on how she is meant to be played. As an off-field unit, her best set isn't even either of the two. It would be an Emblem of Severed Fate, due to her high burst cost and her reliance on dealing most of her damage through her lightning discharges. Before Dendro, Thundering Fury won out by having a 2-piece of that and a 2-piece of Noblesse. However, post 3.0, Thundersoother would not only close the gap but would win out in damage output, however only by a small percent. Not to mention, a Beidou on a Thundersoother could only work well in both Electro Charge and Aggravate teams, whereas Beidou built on Thundering Fury is only good for Aggravate teams. As for Cyno, his set is pretty straightforward. Due to how his burst can give him an additional 100 EM, and the way Electro Dendro reactions scale off of that, Cyno would be very appreciative of having Thundering Fury. Additionally, his high burst cost as a main DPS can be somewhat trivialized due to how he can trigger Electro reactions, which activate the 4-piece effect and reduce his skill cooldown, allowing for more particle generation. With Fischl, she fares better on Thundering Fury, however it being a 2-piece of that and a 2-piece of any of the 18% attack sets. Thundersoother does boost her damage, but is ultimately overtaken by the former build. It has been made known that recently her best in slot is actually the Golden Troop set. This is due to how Fischl's main playstyle is meant to be an off-field unit that deals almost all of her damage through her elemental skill. And the Golden Troop set increases skill damage while also increasing it further if the character is equipped to it off-field. That, paired with Fischl's broken A4 passive, which also counts as skill damage, makes it extremely powerful. Fischl's 2-piece combo has stayed pretty consistent with Thundering Fury until now in 4.0 with the emergence of Golden Troop. For Keqing, Thundering Fury is without a doubt her best set. I won't delve much into the history, and there have been other videos that have discussed this, but to summarize, Keqing was Genshin's first Electro main DPS, and before Dendro, many of the reactions did not suit her. She couldn't probably make use of any of the reactions to increase her damage. Additionally, the Electro infusion that her passive provided did not have the proper uptime for her to be an on-field carry for long. The infusion would expire before her skill's cooldown would be ready. However, after 3.0, Thundering Fury was not only able to provide a reliable reaction that buffed her Electro damage, but also solved her cooldown issue. Her skill cooldown would now be reduced whenever triggering an Electro reaction, specifically Aggravate. So yeah, Thundering Fury won out on her. Moving to Lisa, she's also a bit like Beidou depending on how you play her. As an on-field unit, she does much better with Thundering Fury. Her Ascension stat is also Elemental Mastery, so any Aggravate and Hyperbloom reactions would be further amplified by that. As an off-field unit though, Thundersoother fares much better, allowing for you to use her burst for consistent off-field Electro application to help drive reactions forward, as long as you have enough energy recharge on her. With Razor, he's a physical unit that has been pretty much locked into that niche since the beginning of the game, but after Dendro, an interesting build on him soon showed up. Due to the abundance of Electro that he applies with his skill's short cooldown, burst coordinated attacks, and his C6, he can actually consistently trigger Electro-related reactions. So while the Pale Flame set still remains to be his best in terms of a physical build, Thundering Fury definitely wins out. And as for Yae Miko, her best in slot is usually a 2-piece Thundering Fury and a 2-piece attack percent. This type of build is best for generally most situations and most ways you play her, either on or off field. This is also her best build before and after the introduction of Dendro. The only reason why her best build is not the 4-piece of Thundering Fury is simply due to the fact that the cooldown reduction doesn't really make sense for her since she has 3 charges of her skill with short cooldowns of themselves, and the Aggravate damage bonus as well as the Hyperbloom damage bonus isn't enough to close the gap, and actually the 18% attack actually is a lot more valuable. It is worth mentioning that Thundersoother is technically Miko's highest damage set, however, and only if Electro is consistently applied to enemies. While I do feel like I've simply rehashed the first episode of the series, this is due to how obviously similar these two sets are in their Pyro counterparts. However, one thing that was different was the state of Pyro and Electro before 3.0 and after. While Pyro didn't see much of a change other than a new reaction that performed decently, Electro saw a completely different light. From a reaction that could increase damage and could crit, to a broken new reaction of Hyper Bloom, to how many older units were getting much better, Electro pretty much encountered a complete alteration in how it worked. So the effect on the artifacts were also felt through the characters. I will say that another difference between Pyro and Electro sets is that we have yet to meet a character like Linny who might prioritize Mono Electro one day, and could possibly use Thundersoother. But we've got about, 3 regions left, so it shouldn't be a problem. Who knows? Maybe even Chlorine will be the one. So yeah, this was Artifact Antagony, and I'm looking forward to the next episode I have for you all. You already know what button to press if you want to see more on a regular basis, and if you have something to say, I can only hope that it's nice. Thank you, and bye!